By the grace of Allah, on the 4th of April 2019, a delegation of 22 members of Majlis Khudam al-Ahmadiyya UK made a 7-day journey to Georgia for Tabligh Waqf RC. Here's a brief video report highlighting some of the key activities of Khudam in Georgia. Khudam from all across the country gathered at Batul Futuh Mosque on the 4th of April for this historic journey. They brought with them their letters addressed to beloved Huzur to be posted together in a single envelope, seeking his prayers for the success of the trip. Secretary Tabligh UK Ibrahim Ikhlaf Sahib and Sadr Majlis Khudam al-Ahmadiyya UK Abdul Qudus Arif Sahib joined them at the mosque. Addressing the Khudam, they emphasized on the importance of prayers, strong bond with Khilafat Ahmadiyya and obedience to the system of Jamaat at all times. The flight departed from Luton Airport in the afternoon and landed in Kutaisi Airport at midnight. Khudam were welcomed by Mohsin Tahir Sahib and Wasim Ahmad Sahib of Georgia Jamaat. The following day, Khudam started with Fajr prayers in congregation, breakfast and a thorough debrief on the history and current affairs of Georgia by Mohsin Sahib. He also described what the Jamaat has been up to recently and the itinerary for the trip. Then, as a group, Khudam left to visit the Okatsi Canyon, a 7-kilometer landscape which Khudam were able to explore through the hills and a suspension bridge, a scenic route with mountains, lakes and caves. Khudam offered Jummah and Asr prayers in congregation at an open field and later listened to the live Friday sermon by Hazrat Khalifatul Masih Ayyadahullah Ta'ala bin Nasrihil Aziz. In the evening, they left for the city of Batumi and arrived there at around 10:30 p.m. The following day, Khudam started with Fajr prayers in congregation, breakfast, and then set out to Batumi town centre where they explored the city. While exploring this beautiful city, Khudam also met and engaged in interesting conversations with the wonderful local people of the country for better understanding of each other. Zohar and Asr prayers were offered in congregation at the Batumi Mosque, the only mosque located in Batumi which was built in 1866. Khudam then had a meeting with the Georgian Muslims Union and some of its members at their office in the afternoon. The Khudam learned more about the challenges Muslims face in Georgia and also shared their own experiences of reaching out to the wider community in the UK. The Khudam also touched upon some of the recent awareness campaigns run by the Ahmadiyya Muslim Community UK to remove misunderstandings about Islam and to build bridges with other communities in the country.
We are very pleased that we have a special guest from the UK, and so we discussed the issues that it was related to our religion, Islam, and we are very pleased that they shared us their experience as the minorities in the UK and how they do to keep peace in Western countries.
Sunday, the 7th of April, was a day full of blessings and memories. The day started with congregational tahajjud and fajr prayers. Khudam then set out to visit a remote village in the Ajara region with a population of around 150, almost all of them being Muslims. This was a very beautiful mountainous region with villages living with very minimal resources. Upon arrival, Khudam were greeted with hugs by the Imam of the village and the locals and touched cheeks with each other in a form of local greeting used by these pure hearted villagers. The Khudam presented a large number of books on various topics collected by the Georgian Jamaat as a donation for an under construction library in the village. It was an extremely emotional and humbling experience to see the people of that village showing such a great interest in the books as soon as they were brought inside the mosque. With the aid of a local translator, Khudam were able to conduct an open discussion inside the mosque with the Imam and the locals. After exchanging individual introductions, the villagers were introduced to the Ahmadiyya Muslim community and its message.
So should I say about them or? So we can just say all of these people are professionals.
ყველა ეს ადამიანი პროფესიონალია.
სხვადასხვა დარგში პროფესიონალები არის.
From the United Kingdom.
გაერთიანებული სამეფოდანალები ზედმეტად.
And they are all part of a youth organization.
და ყველა
ახალგაზრდული ორგანიზაციის წევრები არიან თითოეული მათგანი.
And it's all under our community, which is called the Ahmadiyya Muslim community.
რომელიცო არისო აჰმადია მუსლიმური საზოგადოების წევრებიო. ესენი ამ თემს წარმოადგენენ ძირითადად ჩვენი სტუდენტებიო.
Just briefly about the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. We believe that the promised Messiah, who is promised in various religions, came, and he was Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad alayhi salam.
ჩვენ წამს დაგჯერა რომ მათ ყავთ რომ მარტივიანით აგიხსნათ ხელმძღვანელი სულიერი ლიდერი, რომელიც ამ შემთხვევაში მიიჩნევა ამ კონკრეტული საზოგადოების სულიერ ხელმძღვანელად, რომელსაც ქვია მირზა ღულამი აჰმადი.
And we follow our Khalifa, who is Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad.
და ასევე დღევანდელი ჩვენი მთავარი ხალიფა, ვინც არის ანუ სულიერი ლიდერი მირზა მასრურ აჰმადიო, ის თანამედროვე ამ საზოგადოების თანამედროვე ხელმძღვანელია.
It was an emotional experience for everyone. The Imam, expressing his emotions to a khadim, remarked that he prayed that they remain together in paradise as well. A gift pack was also presented to the Imam.
It's been a pleasure, honor to be here. My brothers have already expressed their emotions. We pray to Allah that we continue to work together and we work as one body. So if one part of the body is hurt, the whole body feels the pain. And inshallah, if you require any assistance from us in future, you're most welcome to ask us. We are your brothers, with same family.
Yeah.
So with pleasure.
მოხდილია და გასთან როგორც აღნიშნეთ, სიმები ერთის სხეულია, ერთი ნაწილი დაზიანებულია მთელი სხეული დგება და ამიტომ ამბობს, რომ ნებისმიერ მომენტში შემიძლია თქვენ რაც პრობლემა გექნებათ, მათთან განიხილოთ და მადლობია ასეთ მეჯერებს.
Allah razı olsun. Mara erti sakitkim isminde rom. თქვენ წახვალ ახლა და რა კონტაქტით გვექნება ერთმანეთთან ურთიერთობა რა ვიქნებით ვისით ვიქნებით როდის ვიქნებით ან არ ვიქნებით რა ვიცი მაგრამ ძალიან გული დამწყდება რომ კიდევ ვეღარ შევხვდებით ერთმანეთს მეთქი მიასინდონი ამ გვიანში ვხვდებით და ინდა სულ ერთად ვიყოთ ეს კაცი მაინც მიყვარს
So when you leave, we won't have much ways to communicate with you. So
ამისათვისაც Allah razı olsun. ჩვენ ქართულა მადლობას არ ვამბობთ. მერთმა რაზი გუხდეს. მერთმა რაზი გუხდნენ ყველას. მერთმა მათი წამოწყებული საქმე ბოლომდე სიკეთით მიაყვანიონ და აახირეთისათვის ყველა ის სიკეთი აკეთებიონ, რაც ამჩენელ ღმერთს უხართ.
So he thanks you for the gift and says, God help you do what you are doing right now.
The locals hosted the Khudam for lunch thereafter, and to their surprise, despite very limited means, the villagers collectively contributed to prepare and serve an entire feast for them. Khudam were astounded by their generosity and hospitality as they kept serving them, refilling dishes, took care of all kinds of needs, and ensured that no plate remained empty. The Khudam felt indebted to the locals and donated sums to aid the village in building their local library.
You know, as I've said, that words cannot express the gratitude that we have for whatever you've done today for us. But this is just a small gesture of thankfulness to you. So this is the money for you, to you, just small contribution, so that you can inshallah build your building, and inshallah, hopefully this helps you in some way. You know, so love cannot be contained in some monetary form, but if there was some form of saying thank you to you, this is just.
სიყვარული არის ავარიო და ამასთან ერთად ეს არის უბრალოდ
ჩვენი ინიციატივა. დღემდე ნებისმიერი ეკონომიკური შემოდინება რაც იყო, ეს არ ყოფილა ვინმე სპონსორით, არც მთავრობიდან, არც აბსოლუტურად არავისგან.
We have done this building our enthusiastical reasons, and nowadays also we must to do this work, and this is very important for us, and we want to thank you for this donation from you.
Zaza, again, thank you, Jazakallah, thank you very much for everything. I think for the people who have visited, it's been very emotional and an experience which will change them, and I'm sure they will go back with good words for Georgia, and like we've all been saying, Islam is about peace, love and harmony and humanity, and this
just translated. პირველ რიგში კიდევ ერთხელ მინდა მადლობა გადაგიხადო და დარწმუნებული ვარო ამ სტუმრებშიო ამ ყველაფერმა ემოციური ცვლილება ძალიან დიდი გამოიწვიაო და დარწმუნებული ვარო როდესაც ვდაბრუნდებიან თავიანთ ქვეყანაშიო საქართველოს შესახებ ყველაფერს განსაკუთრებულ სიტყვიან.
And we wish and we pray that the books are of use, people use them, and it increases them in their knowledge. And I'd just like to say thank you from all of us again, and inshallah, until we meet next time, remember us in your prayers.
A local to the village and Jamaat's dear friend Zaza Mikladze then took Khudam to a local historic mosque, at which he also joined them for Zohar and Asr prayers. In the evening, Khudam left for Tbilisi, and during this journey, Khudam, as well as our friend Zaza, listened to beloved Huzur's live address of National Orphanage Ijtima UK.
If the members of a Orphanage are able to collectively follow his example, even to a very small degree, they will be able to bring about spiritual and moral revolution in the world.
The following morning, Khuddam explored the capital city Tbilisi. The Khuddam conducted themselves in an excellent manner and remained obedient as they continued to engage with the wonderful local people whilst exploring this beautiful city. Hidden within the depths of the city, Khuddam found a mosque which was shared between Sunni and Shia Muslims. The mosque had two separate mihrabs inside, one for the Sunni Muslims and the other for the Shia Muslims. Khuddam were welcome to offer azan and their Zuhr and Asr prayers at the mosque. It was heartening to see the unity of Muslims in Georgia and the lack of excessive sectarianism.
حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
In the evening, Khuddam visited the Jamaat Mission House in Tbilisi. The mission house was very beautiful and included a nice living space, kitchen, and an area for table tennis. After a short break, Khuddam had dinner during which Murabbi Sahib spoke about Georgia and the Jamaat. Khuddam offered Maghrib and Isha prayers in congregation and left at night for their hostel. On the morning of Tuesday, the 9th of April, Khuddam met a close friend of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, Bishop Malkas Songolashvili, at the Botanical Gardens of Tbilisi, where they walked together discussing all sorts of topics. The Khuddam were impressed by his strong health and open-minded views. The bishop described Hazur Anwar Ayyadullah Ta'ala bin Nasrihil Aziz as someone who shines with kindness and said to us that you are blessed to have such a leader to lead the community in this time of global uncertainty.
And I was really blessed to have these very brief encounters with him, and I think you are really blessed to have such a leader to lead the community in this time of uncertainty, global uncertainty. Yeah.
The bishop was also informed about him being mentioned as a very close friend of Jamaat by His Holiness Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, Khalifa of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, at a recent group meeting with the members of Khuddam al-Ahmadiyya.
So Hazur, I understand only 4 young members of the Ahmadiyya community are there. We're going 21 of us. So he said 4 and the priest.
And the
so he said he's a very good friend of ours.
Yes,
he's very supportive of us.
I'm honored to.
In the afternoon, Khuddam had a successful interfaith event at the Bishop's Peace Cathedral on extremism and radicalization, discussing its causes and solutions.
Media research, fake news, debunking media.
I not look like a Briton, so I originally from Pakistan. So he's the father, he's to his mother.
Right and what is wrong, they can go straight.
The panel consisted of the bishop, a member of the Georgian parliament and former mayor of Tbilisi, Zurab Chiabarashvili, the co-founder of the Tolerance and Diversity Institute, Mariam Gaftatse, an Ahmadi Khadim from the UK, Usama Riaz Sahib, and Murabbi Silsila and Sadr Sahib, Georgia, Jawad Ahmad Bhatt Sahib. Mohsin Tahir Sahib acted as the moderator. The panelists described their views on radicalization and the future of Georgia.
But I believe, this is my strong conviction, that time is coming, and perhaps it has already come, where we should have meaningful dialogue, which will involve not only clergy, but also people from the grassroots, people who really know what is happening in life.
That the only way to fight with extremism, which is one of the causes of the terrorism, is the free speech, is a discussion. And this is what we do here, and thank you organizers for.
That's why it's becoming so much dangerous every day, and that's why we need more and more talks about this everywhere in the world, not only in Georgia, not only in UK or United States or other countries. Everybody has to be united, and we have to speak up.
The text, the Quran says about this, that if you save one human life, it's like you have saved the whole world. And if you kill one innocent man or people, it's like you killed all the world.
Territorial disputes, annexation of sovereign areas, and military conflicts show that violence is not linked to any particular religion. In conflict and violence, perpetrators are motivated by their unquenchable thirst for power, influence, and resources.
Members of the audience shared their experiences and views on radicalization. The Khuddam had the opportunity to briefly explain to the audience as to how Majlis Ghulam al-Ahmadiyya UK continues to successfully keep its youth away from radicalization and extremism.
Teaching them morality and things like that.
Thank you very much. My name is Bilal Mahmood, and as my brother just mentioned, that I am Director Outreach and Public Relations in the Ahmadiyya Muslim Youth Association, the men's auxiliary organization. So we have women and men auxiliary organizations within the community, and we work independently from each other. So before I say anything, I would like to say that it's a group of 22 people from the UK, which has come to Georgia, and we are blown away by the beauty of this country. There is a lot of diversity in the landscape, and it's amazing. So every single day we think that we have seen the best, and we are shocked the very next day. So I wanted to say that first. So the Ahmadiyya Muslim Youth Association, we follow the motto that a nation cannot be reformed without the reformation of its youth. So if you do not reform your youth, you are destroying your nation. So some of the things that we feel are very important to remove this menace of extremism is education. So we promote education in our community, secular as well as religious. Because when your youth know what your text says, it's not easy for those with vested interests to exploit you. So the first thing that we do is we encourage our youth to study their own text and also the text that belongs to other faiths as well. Because then you get better understanding of each other as well. So that's the first thing that we do, and this is an example. Today we have a group of 22 people, two youngsters here. The youngest of all is the 17-year-old kid who has come here and participating fully and enjoying it. The other thing that we do is we try to involve our youth in positive activities. So when you involve them in positive activities, then their mind is kept towards the positive. And it's very easy at that age, if you do not tell them what is right and what is wrong, they can go astray. So some of the activities that we do in our country, for example, and this is the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, it's a global community. So I'm just talking what's happening in the UK, but this is exactly what happens all across the world, wherever we are established, and we are established in over 200 countries around the world. So, for example, last year alone, our youth organisation collected more than £1 million for various UK charities. And it was basically, it was given, it was donated to charities regardless of their affiliations. So we had marathons, we had walks and different charity collection sessions. The other thing that we do, for example, is regular blood donations. So the youth will go in groups and they would donate blood, because as the Imam mentioned in his speech as well, that the Holy Quran says that a person who saves one life is like he has saved the whole of mankind. So when we give blood, we save life. So there are some Muslims who give blood, or who give blood to take lives. What we do is we give blood and we save lives. And this is what Islam in essence is. Another thing that we do is, for example, litter picking sessions. So on the 1st of January each year, all across the country, thousands of the members of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Community Youth Association, all across the country, they would voluntarily litter pick. So on the 31st of December, the celebrations happen, and there is, of course, it needs to be cleaned, and we volunteer ourselves. So these are some of the activities that we involve ourselves in, and then of course we hold a number of interfaith events. So just after this New Zealand attack, for example, what we did was, across the country, we did Visit My Mosque Day. So we invited people from different faiths and no faiths to come to our mosques and see what exactly happens inside a mosque. Because a lot of unfortunate misunderstanding comes from ignorance. So when you come to a mosque, you communicate with others, you see what exactly is happening, and this is one of the things that we do. So I think that would suffice for the time.
Thank you very much.
The guests were captivated throughout the discussions and continued to network with Khuddam over some refreshments. In the evening, Khuddam went to the mission house and were later joined by two close friends of Georgia Jamaat, George Kopalishvili and Temo Shengelaya, who happens to be a famous young Georgian poet as well. Khuddam hosted them for dinner, and the evening was full of emotions.
All of you look alike, but not, I don't say visual. All of you are shining with your eyes and with your mouth kindness. When I meet you, I see that, I feel that, and sometimes I think that you have no problems, you are not human, and you are guys who are just happy and wants to give to others also happy.
I know like many things that your Jamaat is doing over the world, and I think like I am obliged to thank you for making like world better place, because things you are doing really impacts whole world.
The evening ended with congregational prayers at the mission house. For their last day of activities, Khuddam visited the Bishop's Centre Betelli for the Peace Cathedral, a place used for functions and as a hostel for people in need. The Khuddam were able to meet members of the cathedral, the local youth members from different faiths, and a leader of the local Shia Muslim community. Khuddam all had an informal gathering where they discussed life in Georgia for minorities and the importance of interfaith dialogue. A generous meal was served by the locals, involving interesting discussions with all members present. The bishop kindly joined us in congregational prayers. And then the Khuddam wrapped presents which they bought for children living in an orphanage. The Khuddam also contributed together to make a group donation to the charity of the bishop, for which he was very grateful.
For the community, for us.
Thank you.
You overwhelmed us all the time.
Very good.
I hope and pray, and I think we all will pray for you and for your community.
Thank you. Much needed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
This is a donation from everyone here.
The bishop conveyed his regards to beloved Huzur Ayyadahullah Ta'ala bin Nasrihil Aziz. Khuddam then went towards an orphanage and upon arrival met with the head of the orphanage, informing her about the importance of looking after the orphans in Islam. The Khuddam asked some questions to gain a better understanding of how the orphanage works. Their presents were handed to some of the children, which was greatly appreciated by the head and the children themselves. It was another emotional experience for Khuddam to experience. At night time, Khuddam performed Maghrib and Isha prayers in congregation. After silent prayers, Khuddam then held a short meeting with the members of the Georgian Jamaat, Murabbi Sahib, Mohsen Sahib and Wasim Sahib. Khuddam thanked them for their exceptional hospitality and efforts, and gifts were exchanged. The Khuddam were very emotional as this was their final day of activities for their Georgia Tabligh Waqf Arzi. Throughout the whole trip, the Khuddam read Noah's Ark to further their understanding of their faith. On Thursday, the 11th of April, after performing Fajr prayers in congregation, Khuddam left their hostel to arrive early at Kutaisi Airport. Alhamdulillah, they had a very smooth journey and landed at Luton Airport in the afternoon. The Khuddam were very satisfied and happy about this Waqf Arzi trip and then bid farewell to each other.